Hi, and welcome to another edition of BSC Timeline vlog. I'm TPAK's crazy BSC fangirl. Today we're here to talk about Kristy, or at least that's what I was planning to talk about. Until I realized you can't talk about Kristy without talking about Abby too, especially if when you get to this point in the series. It's kind of obvious that Abby was created to kind of be the other part of Kristy, Kristy's rival, Kristy's friend, Kristy's I don't know what. There are two reasons we have to discuss the two of them together, and that's the first one. When you describe Kristy, there's three major things you use to describe her. Sorry, Dobby wants to be in the picture clearly. Say hi. Now go away. Not gonna happen. He's a cat. Okay, sorry, what we were talking about again, Kristy? There are three things you use to describe Kristy. The first one is that she's a loudmouth. So that kind of defines her. The second one is that she's athletic. And the third one is, by this point in the series, or by the next Kristy book, she's not really that into boys. They describe her as being a little immature. When you describe Abby, you usually use the same three terms. There was a little GIF I saw once that I just loved where it said, "This is Kristy. She's loudmouth and athletic. This is Abby. She's just like Kristy, only she's Jewish and allergic to the whole world." So on the surface, it would appear that that's the only difference between Abby and Kristy, but clearly there's a bigger difference, and that's defined later on in the series, and I've not read book number 99 yet, but that's really where you kind of get the big difference between Kristy and Abby, is that Kristy is organized and put together, and Abby's all like, let's throw everything up in the air and not take anything seriously. It's not really a major difference between the two of them, because if Abby's serious about something, she can get it done. This becomes abundantly clear as the series goes on. But most of the time, she doesn't choose to take things seriously. She's not big into school. I've always liked the fact that Abby could not like school, and her parents weren't crazy Claudia parents about it. Her mom doesn't even seem to really care that much about Abby not liking school. I mean, she doesn't even get into that much trouble when she gets suspended. Meanwhile, Kristy is like, go, 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 get him, get him, get him. And she only does badly in school when she's trying to take on too much in book number 53. In fact, I think if you go back to number 6, she says she got all straight A's. Then later on in the series, when somebody gets straight A's, he's like, oh my god, nerd! And of course, that'd be Mallory, but you know, Mallory is kind of a nerd, let's be honest about that. I love Mallory, but she's a nerd. Going back to Kristy, though, the ongoing books, the next book we're going to read about Kristy is, book name's escaping me right now. The one where she decides she doesn't want to be Bart's girlfriend anymore. Kristy plus Bart equals question mark. Best title ever. People have taken this book to mean that Kristy just doesn't like boys at all, as opposed to Kristy's 13, and she's more interested in sports than boys at this point in her life, and doesn't want a serious relationship. She doesn't want to be caught making out with a boyfriend. She doesn't want a boyfriend, which is perfectly acceptable. I know some grown women who are like that. They still like boys. They just don't want one in their lives at that particular moment. Which leads me to the other half of the Kristy-Abby thing. Those of you who don't read fanfic are missing out on what I call random lesbianity. I realize lesbianity is probably not a word. I don't care. I've been using that since I was 17. It's a long story. I'm not going to explain it. But you can basically go through Archive of Our Own, which is my favorite fanfiction hideout, and pull up all the lesbian stories in there, and everybody you can possibly imagine is a lesbian at some point in this series, and there's been a lesbian with just about anybody else you can imagine. Pick two random characters. They've probably both been lesbians, and if they're not been in relationships with each other, it's probably going to happen someday. So it's not unusual to see, you know, characters who are young in stories, especially like the Babysitter's Club, grow up, and you don't know. I have good gaydar for guys. I could tell you which guys from 4th grade. I knew which guys in my grade were gay. Kind of tells you which ones were lesbians. But see, you know, and it's like a kind of thing. You know, you can pretend to be boy crazy, and then all of a sudden you realize you prefer to be with girls. Because you see a lot of Claudia and Stacy getting it on with each other. But one of the most popular pairings is Abby and Kristy, and it comes from that whole Kristy plus Bart equals question mark, and Abby's on Valentine. They're both rather wear sporty clothes and you know, play sports and hang out with boys. Therefore, they must be lesbians. Let me discuss this for a second. I don't have a problem with lesbians. Anyone who's written as much gay boy fan fiction as I have can't have a problem with lesbians. What I have a problem with is, let's go on a stereotype. You know, Abby wears bike shorts and a t-shirt. She must be a lesbian. Kristy wears a turtleneck and jeans. She must be a lesbian. I can pick up on all kinds of awesome things, and if you want to base your lesbianity on something in the series that you found that actually makes sense, I will go for it and I'll understand it. For example, I saw one where Kristy wasn't jealous of Dawn's relationship with Marianne because she didn't want Marianne to have new friends, because she wanted Marianne all for herself because she was in love with her. I'll buy that. I'll buy her being, you know, having problems with Dawn because she has a thing for Dawn. I can buy all kinds of things, but don't tell me that somebody's a lesbian just because they fit some really random, vague lesbian stereotype. That's more than a little bit annoying. Anyway, I've always loved Kristy because she was kind of the opposite of me. We all have probably heard that Anna Martin based Marianne upon herself and Kristy upon her best friend, who later grew up and had the Perkins girls. And you kind of get the feeling she loved Kristy a little too much, which is why Kristy, you know, rarely fails at stuff. It doesn't come up too terribly often that Kristy fails. When Kristy fails, she fails epically, and it's kind of actually fun to read that. But I always liked Kristy because I wanted to be a loudmouth. I could be a loudmouth in my house, but when I got out in public, I just couldn't do it. I was too quiet and too shy, and things like substitute teachers yelling at me made me cry. So I was never, ever going to be Kristy. Which is probably why I loved reading her books so much. Abby, I actually enjoy Abby. I know a lot of people find her to be freaking annoying. But I liked that she was kind of a breath of fresh air. She was something different. I almost would have liked Abby better if they kind of combined her and Anna together. Because there wasn't really anybody who was interested in music in these books. Shannon sang, and Shannon was into drama, and Shannon was into this and that. Shannon was into everything, though, so, you know, you can't really do anything based upon Shannon. But it would have been nice if Abby, like, wore sporty clothes, was in the orchestra, liked to run, and was a big fat loudmouth. And then, you know, they could give Anna some of the other qualities, or made her something different. Because I think that her and Kristy being so similar is kind of almost a little bit annoying. There's only so many books I want to read about, oh, look, here's Kristy playing softball. Here's Kristy playing softball. Oh, look, Kristy's coaching softball. Oh, then, look, here's Abby over here. She's playing soccer. Boring. And I played soccer. And I still didn't want to read about people playing soccer or softball. All right. That's basically it for now. I was going to blog Abby later on when we hit another Abby book. I can't remember which one, but it's somewhere coming up in the future. But instead I'm going to talk about if the babysitters were alive today and were on social media, so that should be fun. See you guys then. Bye!